Hi guys, Ren here and welcome to the workshop. Today it's a new road bike day for me, unexpectedly, but I had a customer for my current Venge who wanted this specific color, and since I wanted originally a black one anyway, so here it is. Size 52 S-Works Venge, very similar to before. The setup will be also quite similar, so we have an S-Works power saddle, bottom bracket. A lot of people asked whether it's better to have a Kogel one or a ceramic speed one. It doesn't really matter, they're both good. I chose ceramic speed now because they had it on stock. Kogel would have been another 2 weeks, so that's about it. I also have some sweet new preload adjusters from Cane Creek. These replace the plastic units on top and other 30mm cranks. So pretty neat, first time I'm having this installed. Then I have a set of cranks, nothing spectacular there. One thing that is going to be different is the chainring. It's no longer 50 tooth, but it's the 52. It's a new edition. Previously only pro riders have been able to ride this. Now it's available for public. Slightly more efficient than the 50. One by obviously. Cassette 1033, exactly the same as before, and the red group set also exactly the same as before, unfortunately. Why do I say that? These have the one-piece HRD calipers, which are notorious for their very little clearance for the rotor. So when I ordered this, I specifically requested them to send the newer two-piece caliper, and they didn't. So it is what it is. I'm not going to change now. And in terms of wheels, I'm going to ride the MV7-8 with Chris King hubs for now. Also, what is going to be carried over from the old bike is the cockpit, complete as it is. We didn't unwrap or undo anything just to save time. And yeah, then there's the frame itself, so let's have a look. The seat post, as always, small parts, and the frame. Oh, nice. I like the previous one, but black is black. Very thin paint, almost like a raw carbon finish. So I would guess that it saves around 100 grams at least compared to the previous one. Very nice indeed. Okay, so those are the parts we're going to use. Size. The size is 52, up from 49. Why is that? I originally wanted a 52 when I bought the first one. It wasn't available, so I chose the 49 because I can get a good fit on both of them. Actually, I'm going to adjust it exactly the same way. One thing that is going to change with the bigger frame is that because my reach will stay the same, it means that my saddle will come a bit further forward compared to the bottom bracket, which theoretically could be better in an aero position in terms of power transfer, but we'll see. So it's a 52 now. Actually, in the small sizes, if you compare them, there's not really that much difference. In terms of the fit, the stack difference is 13 millimeters, I think. So not much at all. Obviously, the bigger frame has more stack. And reach-wise is just 7 or 8 millimeters. So really not much in it. Both are going to fit me perfectly. So yeah, I definitely like this one a bit more. I like black.
Okay, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but something changed on Ronnie.
Summer edition.
No Crocs, what a shame. I think Ronnie ended the sponsorship with Crocs.
Oh.
It started with Adidas, maybe, I don't know. But it,
still in negotiation.
yeah, but definitely it's different. Okay. Tarmac with Venge stem.
Yes, sir.
5, 4.
Yeah, so people always ask about frame weights when it comes to building bikes. Well, I'm not really a weight weenie, so I don't really measure them, but here's the exception. This is a size 52 black Venge frame, through axle, bottom bracket, headset, coming in at 1060 grams. So that's basically at least 100 grams for the bearings, 50 more for the true axle. So, or maybe less, around 900 grams, I think, for the frame only. So not much difference to the tarmac actually. Okay guys, the bike is finished. This is what it looks like. Pretty stunning, to be honest. Probably nicer and certainly more subdued than the previous one. So let's talk about the differences here and what the actual build is like. I've already mentioned the part spec at the beginning, so I'll just go through that briefly. I already have done a couple of rides on it, so I'll give you some impressions about that. So to save time, I have just transferred the cockpit, the front end, assembled straight off the old bike without moving anything, the levers, etc. That also ensures that my position is as similar as possible. It's a 130 stem, that's pretty much the same. Obviously, because of the larger frame size, it gives me more reach, but only slightly. And also there's a slightly more stack, but it's less than 1 centimeter either way, so no huge differences there. And because of the length, the position is unlikely to be upright. One thing I've done is, in order to not have to cut the stereo tube completely flush and use the flush cap, I have instead used this one, which has the open end. So basically this is acting like a 5mm spacer without actually spacing the stem up. So in the future, when I sell this eventually, I'm a bike dealer, so I will, it means that the future owner can still use 5mm spacers underneath the stem, and also the 6-degree stem to bring the position a bit further up. Now I've already assembled 3 frames like this in this color, but actually this one seems to be, or have, the least amount of paint on it. It is really super thin, and you can, yeah, that's just my sweat, so never mind that. But here in all of the head tube area, in all the tubes, everywhere, you can see bare carbon showing, and I really like that kind of finish, and also it's the lightest possible. Now going back to the frame weight, after Marek has recorded me with the unboxing, I've measured the frame bare, and without the through axle, without the bearings, it's coming in at 920 grams, which is exactly 100 grams heavier than an equivalent tarmac would be, so that's super light for an aero frame. Then of course, having a larger frame size also means that my seat post is less extended. I thought it will mean a bit less ride comfort, but I haven't noticed anything like that. Yeah, so as far as the front end goes, I think that's covered. I've already shared my disappointment with getting the SRAM HRD brakes instead of the newer 2-piece calipers, and as I've expected, it was a hassle to make them work with a decent amount of pad clearance and with no rubbing or ticking at the rotor. So yeah, that was to be expected. Unfortunately, this design from SRAM isn't very good, but then if you keep riding it, the pistons kind of break in and then they move much more freely, so with time it gets less annoying. You can also see that I've used Dura-Ace rotors. Why is that? Well, that's a future related thing right now, but they stay in this bike for a moment, and it's because they're slightly thinner, so it also helps. You would say that the calipers compensate for that because of the hydraulics. No, not really. It doesn't really work that well. So you can also notice the Chris King hubs. At first I wasn't a big fan of these because of the weight, but now I'm starting to realize there are more and more advantages to them, but more about that in a separate video. If you go and have a look at the drivetrain, I no longer use a 52 chaining but a 52 instead. That's just more efficient at the speeds I ride at. Also the terrain here is quite flat and my FTP is over 5 watts per kilo, so I can afford that. I can afford to not have a very low gear, although 52-33, if you actually look and calculate into it, then it's not that tall anyway. Still using the Carbon Works bottle cages. They are beautiful and very light and work nicely. One thing that came up as a bit of an issue with this frame, I've never noticed it on other frames, is that where the bottle sits is quite low compared to other cages. So here you can see it's, as the bottle is located, it can't go all the way in and it's hitting the frame here, so that's why I've applied a piece of protective tape. And also it means that in this configuration the upper bottle is interfering slightly, but it does with the lower bottle. Is this a problem? Not so far, no bottle ejections, and also it means it's pretty damn aero because you can't tuck the bottles any more than this, so unexpected feature. Then if you go further back, we have the oversized pulley equipped SRAM Red Mac working flawlessly as ever. 1033 cassette, as I've already mentioned. Chris-King hub at the back still with the Durace rotor, and MV78 rims. People ask about what rim depth should they run for everyday use. Well, you can't tell anything about random rim depth because it's irrelevant. You can talk about particular wheels, and these are super stable, and I can use them all day without having anything shallower at all. So that's a nice one. Then if you look at the top of the bike and the saddle, this is the S-Works Power, which I've been using extensively this year, and I'm very happy with it. Even in 4 or 5 hour rides I have no saddle issues at all. And pedals, they are the split play arrows with the titanium spindle, so nice aero and light, and it's unlikely that I will ever change these because I really like them. So this is the bike, my new road bike. A bit of an unexpected change, but I'm happy with it. Definitely prefer this color. It's what I've originally wanted. Oh, and one thing I forgot was the tires. Schwalbe Pro One, really like them. There will be a review coming up soon because I've had enough time now to ride them and compare them to the GP5000 TLs. They're set up tubeless here as on all of my bikes and all of the tires, so for me that's pretty obvious. I'm sure you will ask about the weight of the bike. I don't think that's really relevant, but anyway, I've measured it, so it's 7.5 kilos with the Wahoo Rome head unit, which is not present now, so that's pretty light, although heavier than previously, and that's entirely down to the hubs and the wheels, I would say. And they're not the lightest, around 200 grams heavier than the Carbon TI equipped 7.8, which I also have. And it will be changed, so these will go into the time trial bike and those will come here, but first I need to make a change there as well, and then it will be pretty damn light at 7.3. You might say that the bike is also heavier because of the larger frame size. Well, I don't really think so, because this carbon finish makes up for more than a difference than those couple of millimeters in the tube lengths. As for the ride feel and handling, it doesn't feel all that much different in terms of handling, but what I've noticed is that it feels slightly stiffer and more responsive. That might be again down to the hubs and their construction, or the fact that it's a larger frame and specialized engineered frames, with each size having a different blend of stiffness and ride quality. So it might be down to that, but nothing really different. It's also feels more compliant, but that's, I'm pretty sure, entirely down to the so-called souplesse technology of the Schwalbe Pro tires. Okay, so that's pretty much all about it. I'll be putting the kilometers on it a lot in the coming weeks and months, so if in case anything turns up, I'll let you know on the channel. It's all for today about this bike. Thanks for watching and see you next time.